All right, so we're back. Let's talk about those bricks that we made. Now, these are the same bricks that I made before, and you'll see there's more than 20. But I've used a couple of them over again, and when you do that, that's fine, especially when you have so many. But you might want to come in here because we're still going to double this and thin it out a little bit. Let me turn my strength down here or change it a little bit just so they don't feel exactly the same. That's all it takes. It doesn't take much. And there's another one down here that I duped up there. This one I probably want to hello of the random times to save. I'm going to smooth this one and then let's see. Yeah, sure. ZBrush has crashed a few times, so anyway. So the next thing you want to do to get it to this set, how did I get it here? What did I do? Well, I moved everything, so I just used the move tool, clicked on it, and moved it around, right? But before I did that, what I did was I imported or I created a plane like this, okay? So let's do that from scratch. I'm going to go ahead and just hide this one. Or you know what I'll just make? Let me get rid of this one. We'll just grab plane 3D. And it's just a simple plane. And then we're going to change it to Polymesh 3D so we can see it. And now it's only one-sided. And then we'll come back to here and rename it as tiling plane. And since we've made it this way, it's going to be unwrapped perfectly, so we don't have to do that dance. And if it isn't, then you just unwrap it real quick. But then what I want to do is say insert. So let me delete this one. There we go. And then insert. And actually, let me save real quick. And ideally you want to do this before you start placing your bricks, as you saw I did. But we did it this way for now. So what I'm going to do is scale it now. It should be at 0, 0, 0. And there's a trick I want to show you guys to look at here. Is if we look at the position, we'll see that it's 0, 0, 0. Okay. Now it may seem like it's not 0, 0, 0 because the ground plane's there, but that's fine. We just need it to be that way. And then what I'm going to do is, since I know that a few of these bricks end at the right spot, like I'm looking at actually just one row, this row, I can use that as the example of a perfect square. If I grab from the middle and scale out and make sure that hits the bottom too, like that. So this is a little bit off on that side, but that's okay, because what else I did, and assuming that this didn't change, it's a little off, is what I'll do is I'll make a copy. Now, if you remember how to copy, all you have to do, let me go back to this brush real quick. I noticed that these, oh, well, dumb. Okay, so dumb sometimes. Okay, so what I did is I'll take this one here, for example. Oops, take this one here, Control-Shift-D, if we look in here, Control-Shift-D, which makes a copy, and then if I'm moving, it moves that copy right there. So all I really need to do is look at this position of this one, which is 3.04, and then move this one over here, and then come down to my numbers here. That was a negative 3.004. I should check again. Actually, I'm just gonna fix this one. Go. If you click on any of these numbers, they come all highlighted red. If you type right then, you're gonna type over everything. I just want to get rid of the 4 at the end, so I've learned that you just do the arrow key to move your cursor to the end there, because you can't click like you can with Word or anything. I'm just gonna delete that one and say enter, and you see it moved just a tiny bit. Now if I look at this one, hopefully the one I did a second ago, yeah, it's at 3. So we'll delete this. Oh yeah, I wish delete works sometimes, but sometimes I'm glad it doesn't, so yeah. And it looks like I didn't keep my delete. So I'll turn on my back face. And I'll drag my delete. Oops, I'll drag my delete over here for now. Okay. Turn that back on. And then I'll just say delete. Okay. So that's how I did it. I copied one and moved it over to the exact same position in geometry in position. So I know that they're in the same spot. -3 and 3. And if you don't remember how to select different objects, just hold Alt and click, and you'll be able to click any of the objects to jump around. Okay, so now I've got that, and then this one should be 2.84. I think it was 2.85, so these are off just a little bit, and well, sometimes it's not a huge deal. I've been down-resing these, which we'll talk about in a minute, so they're a little bit off, but it should be fine. Yeah. Okay. So next thing I needed to do, since these were all 1.2 million or 1 point something million in some cases more, 1.2 or 1.1, and I had one that these guys were like 3 million for some reason. Anyway, what I need to do I'm looking at this and this one. Because it's only cutting it off right here. If I do right here, that means this side is only going to get, it's going to get all of this again. So probably what I want to do is move this over at least to half is probably the best methodology here. So I get something like half, and then I can fill in the rest the other way. But then I want to come back down here and look at this and make it a number. So -3. There we go. And then I'll grab this one and say 3, and there it moves it. Okay. Just noticing little things that may or may not work in my infinite wisdom, so I probably want to do that with this one too. There's a few ways to get centered pieces, but I just chose to do it this old-fashioned way, so it's easier. We don't have to go through 20 steps while you're still learning ZBrush. So I'll grab this one, and looks like -3 is the answer. So I'll click this one and say 3, right? -3, and this one is 2.9, so it's close. 3. Okay. That should be about half. And I'll click on this one. That one was fine. What about this one? Looks like 3 is the answer. -3, because we're looking at it's based on this, I'm sure. And then I'll click on this one and say 3. 3. Okay. So, what do I do with those ones I just messed up? All I have to do is do a little bit of creative moving around. Let me snap this there. Turn this off. If you notice that your rotation is a little bit off, see, so whenever I move it, it may turn it a little bit. All I have to do is unlock this and say reset. If you don't unlock that, it'll reset your object. So if I do that again and say reset, you see how it moved my object? I don't want that. I want to just reset the pivot point. Okay. So I'll come to this one, and I'll move it over a little bit. And I'll come to this one here. I'll move it over a little bit and maybe scale it. Another way to make your bricks not look the same. I'm going to come over to this one and move it over a little bit. Maybe, actually, I'll scale this one. So you basically want to pick one to scale, or 1 or 2 in this case. And this one, if you have your pivot point jumping off your object, all you have to do is hold Alt and click on that object again, and it'll move the pivot point. Now, it'll sometimes be spin. If you want to make it straight, then you just do this. But, oops, I had it unlocked. Hello. Oh, and Control unlocks it. So I'm just scaling these up a little bit here. And you can go hog wild and do whatever you need. You can make these super big. You can take, like this one is super long over here, and then I did some more damage to it just because it looked too close to the other ones, and I didn't, such a big brick, I didn't want it to just scream, hey, I'm a duplicate. Anyway, so there you go. And these are pretty simple pieces so they don't have to be exactly touching. If I was going to do Gothic, I would scale them up differently. All right. There are methodologies, like I said, to do the tiling stuff, and we'll get into that possibly later on. And if not, we get into it in your VGA2 class. Let me just adjust a couple of things here. Okay, there we go. So, now we have that. Now the next thing I need to do is come through and down res all of these. Oh, I might as well fix these while I'm here. Like that. Okay. So I've done most of them. You'll see that they're all running about 100K. That's because I z-remeshed them to be about 100K, except for apparently this one. I missed one. Whoa. Okay, some of them I missed. I thought. Very weird. Okay, so we'll do this one then. Grab this one. 1.2, and so all I do is I come down to Z-Remesher. And Z-Remesher does a really good job of remeshing, and this is 2019, so it's a little bit different, but I'm going to take the polygon count, I'm going to move it all the way up to 100K, because that's all this is in thousands, so now it's 100,000. I'm going to turn the adaptive down, just Z-Remesher. I could use other things like decimation, but I like this because it's all quads for now, and it works. It takes a little bit longer, I think. I haven't really checked it with these pieces, but it works. We're talking 30 seconds, maybe a minute. On the 3 million one, it was a minute, maybe. It's a really small number in ZBrush world, so there, done. Let me do this one. And then you want to come through and do all of them. Okay, so I'll do it again, and I have to put it up to 100 and down to 50. And Z-Remesh. And what adaptive does is it says, okay, I either want to follow what the number is, or I want to keep the form. Adaptive, the higher that is, the more it lets the form control how the polygons are put on there and how many that is. So if I have it at adaptive and it needs more, it's going to add more. So oftentimes when you get to lower poly stuff, you'll throw adaptive on and you'll be like, why is it so much bigger? I told it to go 4K and it's like 12. It's because adaptive's on. This one there, this one there. Also, what we'll end up doing towards the end when you do characters and stuff is do this half button. That's kind of what we do in a lot of cases. We just do half, half, half. Because every time you do it one more half, it's even smaller. And at half, you can control, you can get a really good feel for how much you're losing in the form of the object. All right, for the rest of these, I'm going to pause it and do the same thing. Okay, so I'm back. So these are all 100,000 a piece now. I've got 3.8 million. It's probably still too much, but what we're going to do next, we'll take a look at that. So I'm going to take this. I'm going to move my, I thought I named this plane, but apparently I didn't. We're going to call this tiling background. Maybe I didn't grab the right plane. Okay, there we go. I'll move this up to the top, and we're going to hide it. We'll grab here, and we'll hide this one. Okay, so we're going to grab, we don't have to grab anything at this point. What we want to do is copy, make this a whole object by itself. It'll be a bigger object, but it's still fine. We're going to downres it again once it's finally done. So we're going to go to our subtool menu, and in our subtool menu we have merge. Now we've done merge down before, but if we haven't, then it just means whatever's below it, it merged into one new layer. But we're going to do merge visible. And what it does when you say merge down is it'll just collapse these two on top of each other. But what it does when you say merge visible, it makes a whole new tool inside of here that houses that geometry. So merge visible, super fast, and it's already right there. Doesn't look like anything different, but if you look, it's one object now. So then we still want to come back over to our old one because we want to keep our tiling background relevant to this piece too. So I just went back and I selected this, because if I don't select this, when I try and insert it back in here from this insert button, if I pick on that and it's not on that layer, it's whatever layer is selected is what gets inserted. You see how there's 34 of them? Now it inserted the one I wanted, and there it is. It's right there. So let me move this up, and we're going to take a look at this. If we look at this on the side, and then we see the tiling, we can see that it cuts it off. So right away, I know that I can get rid of some of these. So what first we should do, though, just to be smart, is save. That's definitely not the right one. Okay, so I'll save it. Take a second here. And take a look at this. Okay, and what we'll do is we'll use our trim brush like we talked about last time. I'm going to come over to my trim, not slice, but trim rect in this case. And I'm just going to grab like that much. And hopefully it works fine. There we go. So now I'm still clipping, but I've saved that. And it's already dropped to 1,000,000 polys by doing that. Did you see that? 3.2 to 2.1. So all that little extra stuff in the back. And really, what I could do is delete all this stuff eventually. But for now, 2.1 is not the worst thing in the world. 2.1 is a little bit big still. So what we could do is we could try and dynamesh it again. Or we could try and do what I was going to do for a little bit more precise, larger but precise copies. Is I'll say, I'm sorry, plugins, which would be up here if you don't have it on your side over here. Plugins. And then I'm going to say decimation, and then I'm going to say pre-process current. And it'll analyze. It's pretty fast. And it does the work in the beginning, and then when you use it, it brings the other stuff back. So I don't really think I want to lose the 2 million in this case down to 100,000, since that was the cap for Dynamesh. But what if I put it to, like, I don't know, let's say it's at 2% right now. If I do 10% of that's 200,000, so let's do 20 at 400,000. So we just click on decimate current, make sure this is set to 20, and click. If you want a one-stop shop, you don't have to pre-process it. You click these and it'll do it for you. And look at that, it's already done. And let's see real quick. What you want to do is you want to look at where it was, and then look where it is. So, looks pretty good. You can push this button, it'll do the pre-processing and decimate it. But if you've already had a pre-process and you push this button, it's still got to pre-process it. Anyway, so now I have two. Now I have it down to 400K. And the reason I wanted it smaller is because I want to duplicate it again. So I'm going to push Control-Shift-D to duplicate. Go to my Move tool. And move up. At this point, I'm going to turn on my transparent so I can see what's behind my object. You see that outline? That's the transparent. That's the plane. So why don't I take this and I'll put it right here and then reset it again and lock it. Okay, so we can zoom in here and we can see there's the outline. It's probably not right yet, so let's see. I think my bricks are just a little bit too big altogether. So there's a couple ways you could handle this. You could, let's first off make these. So I could come back in and rebuild the wall with all the pieces, and that's not a horrible thing to do. I'm just trying to get this done faster. So if I scale these down a little bit and move them down just so I can get them all to fit on the same thing. There. If these top ones are bothering you, you can again just grab them, scale them out. Oops, wrong button. Grab them and cut them off. There. Pretty good. Okay. The other thing you can do is mirror it. So if we come down to, and I'll do it, usually I do it in here with my mirror tool right there, but we'll do it with the old-fashioned way so you know where it is. So it's in here, it's under modify topology, and then mirror and weld. I think. Oh, I don't want it mirrored. I just want it flipped. Duh. So if I go to deformation, and then I just say mirror, that's what I want. Which I also have down here, but I wanted to show you where both those were. So now they're opposite. So they shouldn't hopefully point out as perfect. They may, because look at this one and this one touch. So really maybe I want to mirror it in this too. Sure. All we're going to get out of this is a texture like I was trying before. So there we go. So now we have a, let me turn this all off here. A tiled, in theory, geometry that should be able to be used inside of something like Substance. So how do I get this out of here? What do I do? Well, you could attach everything, but let's first do one more thing. Let's go to our move tool so we don't see that. And I'll grab my plane. I want to export my plane first because that's the basis of where the texture is going to sit. If I don't export this plane, this background plane, then when I put another plane in there, it's not going to line up. In fact, if I want, here's that merge too. So I'll take this one and I'll say merge down. And say okay. And now I have both of them. And again, always safe to save. So now I've got that. What I'll do is grab that plane like I talked about, like this, and I'll come over to my Z plugin. And if you don't have it, just click here. It'll go over there. And then you come down to FBX export import. Make sure your options are off. They don't really matter at this point. And then you export. And we'll call this tile background, sure, like that. Actually, I think I didn't have it selected, which is weird. And by the way, it says it's done, but until this thing moves, it's not done. So what we'll do is we'll call this. Oh, I have it set to visible. So we're going to have to call that one the final, because that's... So what I was going to do is say visible, and it'll export that plane with these objects too. But now that's for the high-res one. And for the low-res one, I just want to say selected. So I export, and we'll call this low. That one exported fast. All right, so let's go over and open up Substance. This is the old one here. So let's say File, New, select low FBX. Okay, there it is. And then we'll say bake mesh maps, and we don't need the ID because we didn't save that, but we probably want to change this to as high as we can get it, at least so if we want to change any of the resolution, we can do that after we get the high res stuff. And then we're going to come into our background, which we should have called high, and we'll open it. And then we're going to make sure we move this again to like, I don't know, 1 should be fine. 0.5 is probably fine too, actually. So let's just do that. I hate that when you press enter it does that, but whatever. Okay, bam. Let's see what we get. It should be exactly the same placement. The only thing we're going to see is that some of our geometry should mirror across the tile size. There we go. As my computer takes off. Okay, and we're back. And we notice a couple of things. These are probably not the best way to do this. I should have cleaned it up, and we can see the tiling stuff, and these will be tiled. So, I mean, there's definitely, it's better if you can make all of these bricks individual, but for now, they're fine. But this should tile here, this should tile there, these should all tile together. So now we have a tiling texture with only really one brick that doesn't tile, which probably is weird. I probably should have changed that up, but anyway, hindsight. So if we take a look at this, the way I got to dance with here to get that soft, sharp, or that colored corner is what we get when we render this stuff out. Is we get a thing called a curvature map. Let me go to our texture. And export this. We'll call this curve. Oh, we're just looking for a folder. Select that folder. Take a look at our name. Okay. So I'll open up Photoshop real quick. I'll show you what that texture looks like. What it is it's a map that tells substance, in this case, which is high, where's the high parts of the thing, and where's the low parts. So if we look at this, let me say File, Open, Curvature Tiling Background, right there. So what we get is these highs. So what we have is convex and concave edges. Substance figures out where the corners that point out are and where the corners that point in are. Convex is pointing out and concave is pointing in. And it says anything from 0 to 0, which is black, to 127 is concave. Anything from 128 to 256, is that right? No, that only, yeah, that's right. I can't think this morning. Is going to be the highlights. So the highlights are white and are the convex. Yeah, concave is the dark and convex is the light. So what we could do, and what I've done before, and it was to varying, I'm not super happy about it, and I haven't come up with a better way at this point. So I'll come in here and sample colors, go to midtones, and grab one all the way up to 100 and 255, and then grab this until I just get those highlights. Because sometimes I don't want all the other crap, all the dark stuff. So I say, okay, I come to the layers, and then I'll fill it, and I'll paste, or copy, paste. Oops. Copy, paste. Put this layer below it. D for that. G so I can fill it. And there's my concave. Let me see how. Oh, there's my convex, which is what you want. So we can take a look and see what this looks like, but more than likely, actually, it's not too bad. So if I export this, and we'll call this ping, and we'll call this convex map. Like that. Then I'll come over to substance, and I'll look inside of substance, and I'll go to my materials, and I'll come to my texture folder where I just put that. It's just right here. And I'll take that convex and bring it in, and then of course I get the undefined. I gotta say texture, and then current session, and then import. So now if I go back to textures, it makes it a little bit easier to see. You'll see I have this convex map. So let's take a look at what we can do with this. So I have a non-filled layer, and as you remember, inside of substance we have to have a filled layer to put a picture to represent what that layer means. Even though I've got a map here, that's for painting with that map. That's not for actually using that map as a fill. So I'm going to fill it, delete that one for now, and I'm going to look at my convex color. And what we get is that black. Now what I probably want to do first is put a fill underneath it real quick. And then I'm going to change this one so it's only looking at the color, like that. And then I'm going to also tell it to try and do just the just the screen. So it's just the highlights. And there you go. Then you could even, you know, add these on top of each other, maybe, and get it a little bit stronger if you just want the highlights, which I actually like the way this one came out. Some of the other ones I did were not as good. But the other option too is what I've been doing is take these two out. Is just take in and do another fill real quick. So we have a new layer to work from. We'll get rid of the height. And I'll just take that curvature map that I had and threw it on here. Like that. And then you could even try again to use it as a screen. And it works okay. Not hating it. Or you could use an overlay. Or I could even enhance it with this one. So my whites are a little bit whiter. Anyway, so that's how you get that map. And if I use this, actually I could have tested my curvature too. I could test my tiling too. If I come in here, I'm afraid to, but I'm going to come in here and double click. And we know that this map is 4096, so I'm going to say filter, other, and then offset. Because 4096, it's going to be 2048, 2048, and there you go. It's a little bit off. For some reason. But generally speaking, look at that, perfect all the way down. It's just this one. It's off by a little bit. It's probably the wrong size of the brick and stuff. So if you're going to do it with non-cracked pieces or no center crack, because then even this stuff won't be noticed. Okay, so we'll come back in here. I'm going to export now. So I'm going to say File, and I'm going to say Recent. And actually, yeah, we'll say Export Textures. And then I'm going to change this to go to Recent Textures. Nope, not that one. Nope, not that one. See, I'm working so many things with you all. I don't see the other one. So both of these are looking for George. So we're going to pull back out, and we're going to go to Capstone Designers, Assets, Art, Meshes, Environments, Textures, and we'll just save that folder. And I'm going to change this to 1024, sure. And take a look at this, and you'll see that I've got emissive, height, normal, base, and roughness and base. And that's not right. Since this is going to go into Unity, since this is going to Unity, I need to change it to a Unity setup, which would be a little bit different. You'll see it's albedo, metal smoothness, normal, emission. But I don't even like it that way because I've set up specialized materials for the project I'm working on. So I'm going to go ahead and do it as the way I've set it up, which is this one. So I've got albedo, normal, emission, which I may not need, but that's fine. AO, height, which again I don't think I need, but I'll just delete it. Metal and smoothness is separate maps. Okay, and then export. Okay. And if I put that into Unity, now, I should tell you that this export is not going to be named the way I need it to be named, so I need to change the names, then it'll automatically fit in all the materials that I'm using in and in Unity, but for now it's not. So I'm going to open up a simpler level real quick. This one. Let's do 2.1. Oh, I think it's this one. Huh. Okay. I'm going to open this one, and then I'm going to come over to this ancient. You'll see it says ancient stone. I'm going to come over to my materials. Set here, and do ancient stone to, let's say, this. And this, oh, that was the wrong one, this. Just throwing out a bunch of stuff so we have examples. To look at closer. Okay, so this is the old map I have. You can see there's a gap right there. I've set this up so I can tile it as I need to as well, so I'm going to change this tiling. Not to 12, because that's a lot, but to 1. Huh. Oh, I'm on C. I need to be on A. So I can make them bigger like that if I need to. So we'll look at it that way. And then I'm going to change the picture that's in there. So because we already put those new ones out, we're going to come down to, what's it called, tiling background right here. See, so I'm going to grab it and throw it on there. And then I'm going to grab, oops, probably better if I grabbed it and threw it on that one. Grab it and throw it on there. There we go. Now it's not matching. Grab it in AO and put it on there. Grab our metal map and put the metal on there. Black because it's not going to use any highlights because it's not metal. And then this one. And amazingly, it didn't complain about it not being a normal. But it should have. So I'm going to change this to normal map and apply. There, it works better. Weird. Usually it'll come up and say, this is not a normal. So back to this. You can also attach them in here. So I've got everything but my smoothness. Okay. So now I've got the tiling texture. We do see the little, we don't really even see the little problem because it's a tiling texture, but it's right there, I think. Yeah. But super fast, super easy, very controllable. If I do this back to 1 and hit this to 1. Yeah. And there you go. Now we have tiling textures in that style from the game industry, or the stylized stone look that we have. And it works great, except for that little blemish, but I will fix that. Cool. All right, and that's it. I'll talk to you later.